Tell me a little bit more about some of the things that you guys are doing. I'm told that you're involved with women in recovery addiction, migrant children, and drumming for kids. Tell me about some of those projects that you guys do.
Well, I'm an education background. I have a degree in psychology and education, and I have my teaching certificate out of New Jersey. And I started teaching when I was just fresh out of college, but then got an opportunity to play music at the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. Oh, wow. On a full-time basis. And I was like, well, I paid my dues and I taught, and I do love teaching, but I went and did that because it was just such a wonderful opportunity. And then, lo and behold, I left that to go take over the Middle East restaurant, our family's business. So I taught for a year and then was out of teaching. I got back after we sold the club. After about a year of figuring out my life, I figured I needed to get back into teaching, and an opportunity came up which paid very little bit, but as a music teacher. And I felt that I had enough experience playing music, and I'm going to take that. And actually, that came from my friend Lenny Seidman. He gave me that opportunity. And so I taught K through 8 elementary music at a school, a very small school called University City New School, which is now Penn Alexander. It turned into Penn Alexander, which is Penn's
charter.
Their showcase school. Anyhow, I did that for a while, and then that school was closed down to become Penn Alexander. So I found myself, over the years, having to reinvent myself, and I developed these drumming programs because I had lots of drums, and I kind of developed these programs and found myself in schools as a teaching artist. And so I've done that for a lot of years. And I got hooked up with a child psychologist, Dr. Friedman, who had a place called Warwick House, which was a residential facility for severely emotionally disturbed kids that have been abused in all manners and committed crimes or just serious mental problems, taken out of their homes and the schools, and it's so residential. And he said, Joey, these guys need what you do, because he took one of my drumming classes, workshops, and he was like, this is what the kids need. And so I was working there with these kids for over a decade until that place closed down. But I was hired because drumming has been shown to just the mere left-right alternating repetitive behaviors, Dr. Friedman showed me, instantly strengthens your corpus callosum, which is the nerve fibers that connect your two halves of your brain. And there was studies showing that this is very beneficial to severely emotionally disturbed kids. Thus, I've developed lots of programs, and then just through word of mouth have gotten more, like working with women in recovery from addictions, which drumming is shown to really help. It gets you in the moment. When you're drumming or playing an instrument, you have to be present, and in that present moment, you're not thinking about your addiction, and it's kind of a relief thing. So there's lots to do, a lot of healing with drumming, especially music in general, but with drumming and what I do. Yeah.
And I would say that's a commonality, because I think each of us kind of used music, I certainly did, as a self-healing mechanism, and I found that how much it worked. And so it was nice to find other people, these three, that also saw the healing qualities of music, which then sort of is one of the things that brought us together. And I think that also definitely had something to do with how it was kind of a natural gravitation towards Denise, who had that same philosophy, right, of love and healing in music.
Well, tell me about the concerts for peace and the Middle East Peace Orchestra.
Okay, that's another thing that I was a part of, working with Jack Kessler, a cantor. He just recently passed away. He had a group of Jewish musicians. He ended up coming into the Middle East and saw my brother Mike playing oud and me playing, and had the crazy idea to put Jewish musicians and Arabic or Arabic-influenced musicians together to promote peace.
Yeah.
And we did that for many years. And then finally, and we toured, we were all over the United States, East Coast, West Coast. We played a lot of places with Jack. And then Jack got affiliated with Henrik Goldschmidt, who was the principal oboe player for the Royal Danish Orchestra, who was also thinking that he wanted to get together with Middle Eastern musicians, but he couldn't find any around him. And so he looked up Arabs and Jews playing together or something. He Googled, and the first thing that came up was Jack Kessler's band Absolute, because it started with A. So he contacted Jack from Denmark and said, hey, can we do a collaboration? And so Henrik, who had a lot of connections in Europe and in Denmark, being with the Royal, we actually played for the Queen of Denmark in the Royal Danish Theatre.
Wow.
But so Jack selected not all of his group, but members of the group. His son, Flippy, who played violin, myself, because I'm Lebanese, and another Lebanese oud player. Anyhow, so we collaborated with Henrik Goldschmidt, and that became Concerts for Peace. And Henrik brought us over to Europe several times. We played everywhere, and it was just a wonderful scene. And it had an effect on audiences. I mean, little old ladies would come up in tears at the end of it. Sometimes you can be aloof to how much your music is affecting somebody. You can say, oh, I didn't like my performance that night or whatever, while other people in the audience have been moved spiritually by what you've just done. So it was really deep. I guess that's, yeah.
And I agree with you. When you walk into a room, you never know who's in the room, and you never know what you may have said or done and the extent to which it affected that person or any number of people that were sitting in the room.
Right.
And who you may have never met, because you're on stage and you're looking at a collective group of people, and some of these people you will never see again, but they will walk away with the message that you imparted.
Yep.
Well, look, it's obvious that you guys are doing a lot of real positive things, and I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing, but I'm curious about the instruments that you have. Mm-hmm. Share with our audience a little bit more about the concept, the history behind the instruments, especially these two instruments that you have.
Will you start? Because I think that
okay. I'll start. The instrument that I have here that has many names because it's so ancient. I mean, literally goes back 2,000 to 3,000 years, if not more. It's an Egyptian tabla. Tabla in Arabic means the generic word for drum, which the Indians took to name their instrument tabla. Mm-hmm. It's so old. There's a saying in Arabic that this instrument is older than the chair. So they give you an idea of how old it is. It used to be made out of clay with a fish skin. Nowadays, the one I'm playing, this is cast aluminum, and it has a plastic skin, which is not affected by our humid Philadelphia weather in the least. We used to have to put them on heating pads, or sometimes you would actually put a light in the back just to keep them warm.
Oh, wow.
The fish skin is a very thin skin and very susceptible to humidity. But it's the darbuka, if you will. The Lebanese call it darbeki. The Greeks call it tumbaleki. Persians call it dumbek. I mean, if you were around for this long, you would have many names as well.
That's right. Yeah. And so I'm kind of playing a borrowed instrument. And by that what I mean is, what I'm actually playing is a West African drum. What I brought today, which is a talking drum. It's a dundun. But the reason I play it is because there's a hand drum or a frame drum that we use called a kenjira, which has the same concepts, meaning the one of sort of bending, right? So here you're doing it by pressing the strings here. get different tones. You tighten the skin by pushing and pulling. And on the Kenjira, you wet the skin again. It's either fish skin, right, or it's lizard skin. And so by wetting it, you press and you create the tonal thing. So this also comes from, for me, my classical training is on the tabla, right, and the mridangam. But because I use my fingers, I can take any drum that's sort of that I can use my fingers on, and I can apply it. So, this is if you were traditionally playing this instrument, you played with the hooked stick, right? And there's this whole language around it, which, I'm not privy to. What I do is I play, tabla bowls or things on it. What we were reciting before. So that's kind of the drum language from Hindustani. So essentially the philosophy is, if you can say it, then you can play it. Similar, in fact, to scatting, right? And except that in this the language is very specific and it ties to certain strokes that you would play, which is what we were playing. So you go, da da gena da gena da gena da gena da gena da gena da. So and if you hear them together, you see that what's being recited is in fact what's being played. And so that was one of the things that we really sort of started doing together, which has been wonderful. So it gives us a little language that we can use when we need to talk about the string players. We just use that.
Well, look, it's been a pleasure having both of you here. And why don't you take us out on something? Oh, by the way, is there anything else you'd like to say before you take us out on some real solid music?
I would like to thank Denise Spalding and Spalding Entertainment for bringing us here to you. This has been a blast. It's been great being able to talk with you. You want to say anything?
And I would, around that, first of all, thank you to Denise. Thank you for having us here today. And I think just to reinforce the fact that really what we want to do is we want to heal through music and spread love through music and bring people together from different communities. That's a really big sort of meta theme, if you want.
Well, it sounds like that's something you've been doing for quite a while. I want to encourage you to keep up the good work, but take us out on some an improvisational session.
Yeah,
Okay. Dage dirigidinna, dage dirigidinna,
katta,
katta,
dirigida, 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 dage dirigidinna, dage dirigidinna, katta,
katta, dirigida, dirigida, dirigida.
Dage dirigida,
dinna,
katta,
katta,
dirigida, 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 dage dirigida, dage dirigida.
You've been listening to Tell the Story, but stay tuned because there's so much more to come. That's coming up next.